Hello, my beautiful buds. Today we're going to talk about my favorite plants this April, and there are so many plants right now that are thriving and growing, and so honestly I had a really hard time narrowing it down, but I'm trying to be reasonable here. I'm going to start out with the plant that I just brought in, the Aglaonema Maria. Oh my word. So I feel like a lot of people are on the same page about this, that this is a seriously underrated houseplant, the Aglaonema in general, but specifically this is the only Aglaonema that I own, and I think it's really beautiful. It's got this gorgeous pattern to the leaves, and it's green on green, which, I mean, some people might view that as a little bit boring, but I think it's kind of nice that it doesn't have to be super loud. It just exists and is really elegant. I just noticed that this leaf somehow got decapitated a little bit, but you know, it's okay. We'll just, yeah. Anyways, I'm specifically including this plant on my favorites list this time around because number one, I just want to showcase her and appreciate her a little bit more because she's one of those plants that just doesn't get a lot of attention. I'm seeing a wasp, like inside the window, like in between the window and the screen. We're gonna deal with that later. She definitely senses that spring is upon us because she's been putting out a lot of new leaves, new growth. She's really been filling out. Like here's another new leaf right here. So in general, like she's just doing really, really well. And she's also been super resilient. My cats, for some reason, have targeted this plant and they've knocked it down. Oh gosh, it might be into the double digits now as far as like how many times my cats have just knocked this plant over, and she has done really well in spite of that. So I'm very happy with this plant. I definitely need to add more Aglaonema to my collection because they're so carefree. Next plant I want to talk about is my Calathea ornata. And I know there are some parts of this plant that look a little bit rough. I mean, it's a Calathea. I think technically this one was also reclassified to Gypersia, but it's just more well known as a Calathea. So yes, there are some like slightly crispy edges, but that's just kind of par for the course at this point. Especially this one in particular, I feel like is a little bit more fussy, even compared to some of the other like Marantisia in my collection. But look at all of this new growth that is just exploding right now. Just at the base of the plant, there's all of these new growth points and new leaves. I don't know if you can fully see the glory of what's happening right now, but it's super encouraging because this plant was my very first plant that I got that was like in the Marantisia family. I, as a beginner plant parent, was just absolutely struck by these leaves. I wanted them in my collection, and he really took a nosedive. He declined heavily during the first winter that I owned him, and ever since then he's just been clawing his way back. And you know, we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of back and forth, and if I ever miss a beat with this one when it comes to just he's just not very forgiving if I miss a watering or anything like that, or if anything goes wrong with his care. When we're in a good rhythm, he's easy to take care of. It's just if you get out of that rhythm, that's when it gets tricky, or when he throws a temper tantrum and gets crispy edges and that sort of thing. Right now we're in one of those really good seasons, which is super encouraging. I actually topped the soil with some sphagnum moss just to see if that helps with keeping some moisture. Currently he's been drying out very quickly, and I think that's because he's due for a repot. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but he does have a lot of roots at the bottom of the pot that are kind of starting to come out. I don't think I've ever potted him into a bigger pot. It's like I've just kind of refreshed the soil. I'm overall just very, very pleased that he's really taking off at the moment, and I hope that he continues to improve. Next is my Epipremnum pinnatum alba variegata. And wow, right now this plant might be like in my all-time favorites. I mean, we'll have to see as he continues to grow. Oh my word. Just take a good look at this plant, and particularly these leaves. Look at how mature these leaves are getting. Do you see the little mini fenestrations and holes in the leaves? Like, that is so happy. Oh my goodness. And the variegation is beautiful. And this guy is constantly growing. I mean, there's a new leaf there. There's a new leaf right here that also looks super beautiful. And like, look at that hole right there is so cool. I am super pleased with this plant. And also, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but there are some aerial roots that are emerging and have like started trying to attach themselves to this wood. This plant absolutely loves to climb. So if you ever get this plant, I mean, immediately put it up a plank or moss pole or something. This one vine down here is not attached, and I can tell a huge difference. Like, look at how tiny this leaf is that's coming out, and it just has not matured in the same way, and it has not grown nearly as quickly as the other portion of the plant that is climbing. So definitely get it to climb. It's pretty much always growing, and it's only growing even faster now that springtime is upon us. Now, my only question is like, okay, how am I gonna extend this? Because I don't know, I was considering maybe using wood glue and then stakes or something, like stapling some stakes with another pole that's the same size and hoping that that is stable enough. I don't know, I don't like have any power tools, otherwise I would maybe like cut into this and make like a little joint almost to fit them together, but I'm not confident enough in my skills to do that. I could also always just remove the pole and replace it with a much longer pole, but that would mean I would have to like really fully detach this plant, and I don't know that I want to do that either. So I don't know, let me know if you guys have any suggestions, but that's something I'm gonna have to really think about. Yeah, I think I maybe have a month and a half before this plant reaches the top of the pole. So, but yeah. Okay, the next plant is my Hoya Mathilde, and I mean, this Hoya is one of my fastest growing Hoya. She's really beautiful overall, like I always really like her, but the main reason that this plant is on my favorites list for April is that she just put out a couple of new leaves, and one leaf in particular is incredible. It's like basically a half moon leaf. What? Can you, like, do you see that? Holy moly. That is absolutely stunning. I am obsessed. I am obsessed. I'm really hoping that like these variegation genetics continue with this plant, because if this Mathilde ends up with like more half moon leaves and a ton of splash, I could cry. So I don't know, that's the main thing. But also I would love to appreciate that it's growing well up this trellis. I really should start attaching like these other pieces and see how it goes. But yeah, this plant, if you're looking to get a Hoya that is like a step beyond your more basic Hoya, Hoya Mathilde has gotten more affordable in recent years, and she's honestly, in my experience, super easy and incredibly drought tolerant. Like, I barely have to water her, and I water her when I, you know, squeeze the leaves and they're just a touch more pliable than normal. But like right now, all of her leaves are really rigid, and so I know she's doing great. So yeah, super carefree. I have her, pulled back a couple feet away from a west-facing window. Right over there. She gets some like direct rays of light towards the end of the afternoon, but like it's nothing crazy. And these little round leaves are just adorable. Are you kidding me? Look. All right, this is the next plant, and it is my philodendron mame. And I had not really appreciated how far this plant had come until I made my video a couple weeks back. That's like my struggling plants video update, because 6 months ago I put this in a video where I was talking about plants that were not doing so hot in my collection, but I did an update video, and obviously I was directly comparing my mame 6 months ago versus my mame now, and he is really thriving, you guys. Like, look at how beautiful he is. The leaves are so pillowy and silver, and he's started, I mean, he's crawling along this pot, and he's started like rooting into the soil as he's supposed to, like as he crawls. And because of that, like, look at this new leaf that's coming up right now. It's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a big boy. Like, I can already tell. Look at that. Oh my word, you guys. This plant is really, really stunning. And I know not a lot of people love crawlers because they take up space, and sometimes people don't like how long these petioles are and that sort of thing. And obviously he's very much facing this direction because that's where the light is mainly coming from. Like, he's getting some light from the south facing window here, but most of his light is coming from this west facing window that's closer. So he is kind of craning over, but honestly, I'm not mad about it. Like, he looks great. He's living his best life. He is a slow grower, I will say that, but that just means that when these leaves come in, like, they're all the more rewarding. It's probably for the best anyways, because as crawlers progress, like, you can only get a pot that's so long before you need to just chop up the plant. So if he were to grow super, super quickly, that would potentially be kind of overwhelming. I think, what was my train of thought? Oh yeah, with crawlers, I think a lot of people just don't really like them that much, but honestly, I really love how they look in a space. Like, yes, they take up a lot of room that's horizontal and not vertical, but I like having the variety of some plants that are more horizontally oriented and full and big like this, and some plants that are like growing up the wall. So I don't know. I personally really enjoy the variety. I think it's kind of fun. So overall, yeah, I really am appreciating this plant a lot. I'm so relieved that he's finally taking off for me and that I feel much more comfortable about his care. So yeah. Oh my gosh. All of that heartache and anxiety was so worth it. Okay, you guys, I wish that I could talk about so many more plants, but I think I'm going to just do one more and end it there. And this is my Syngonium confetti. And I just want to give some appreciation to this gal because I feel like sometimes she's a little bit underappreciated. So, okay. This gal has had her ups and downs for sure. But more recently, some of these leaves have had just really sweet pink variegation. The variegation is much more bold when the leaf first emerges, but you know, as the plant hardens off, like the pink tends to get a little bit more dull, which honestly I don't mind. I feel like it's kind of sweet and understated, and it's one of those plants where you look at it at a distance and you're like, oh, you know, it's a green plant. But then when you get up closer, you're like, oh, that's actually really, really sweet and speckled. And it almost looks like freckles to me. And this plant is one of my favorites just because I feel like she's actually taking off again this spring. So she's got a new leaf right here and a new leaf right here. And I don't know, I just feel like she's really, really pretty, really, really elegant. I feel like, generally speaking, I just don't really appreciate the Syngonium in my collection enough. Oh, you just hit me in the face. A lot of the time, I just kind of overlook them, but they're really sweet plants and they can grow in pretty funky, fun ways. This one in particular, I just have been eyeing a lot more recently for whatever reason. Maybe it's that the variegation has come out a little bit more with some of these newer leaves, or just that she's growing more in general. She's just caught my eye. Well, I think that that's gonna be it for this video. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what your favorite plants have been this April in the comments down below. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.